Not you. Not you.
Everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fittest. We're back with our Chick Chat group, Brooke Walker, Kira Newman, and myself. It's been a week. It's been a week. Brooke just got her brows done. So if you're watching on YouTube, look at those.
Kira has no brows.
I'll always be your hype girl. Yeah, Kira, meanwhile, I know, me too.
I'm borderline albino.
I always notice it in my check-in pictures. And when I do check-in pictures, I'm like, no brows.
Hey, you remember when it was in style to have like this super thin, straight brows? That used to be
it. Yes, but who, did you do that? I hope nobody here did it. I remember that though.
I'm pretty sure I did do it, if I'm being honest.
Aww.
Yeah, they look like
we all go through it.
They look like tadpoles.
Yes, it was great.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Good time in my life.
Yeah, like straight up in the 70s, it was like they looked like sperm. It was like a little circle with a tail.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So great. Oh my goodness. Well, we're gonna talk. None of us are going to the Arnold we're pretty sure none of us are going
No.
to the Arnold. But I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about who's competing. I should get some software that's like.
Look at those goggles. Get it.
I love that you just put your glasses on.
I do too.
Let's talk about the Arnold.
Yes. Yeah. I should have got shit. I wish I had mine, but.
Call me doctor now.
Yeah, Dr. D.
You guys are so funny. I'm like, this is what old is. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I did an interview. I interviewed Juliana. Yes, and it was.
I love that.
I do get I get starstruck by a lot of the pros. I just have so much respect for everybody. But I mean, honestly, she's the GOAT. I mean, is there anyone else who is more beautiful on stage? I would say it's a toss-up between her and Dana, who I love more because I love them both so much. But Juliana on the stage, women's physique, 4 times Miss Olympia. It was so.
Well, and
good.
they're both classy. They're both humble, and they do what they do, and they don't need to emphasize it. Oh, I don't know. They just have this humility about them, and they're both just kind. So.
Yeah. And I think they do it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? I think they truly enjoy being a part of the sport,
Yeah. It was such a great interview. She, just the way that she made it through this whole thing and has been doing it for so long. And now she's a mom, and it's her confidence, her level of confidence without being arrogant is the most refreshing thing. That was just the most beautiful thing throughout the whole podcast. I just was this woman just knows exactly what she wants. She makes choices for herself. Yeah, she's everything you wished she was. That's who she is. It was amazing. It was amazing. So great. But I laughed because she pulled out her glasses and I was like, oh yeah, I know this. All too well. She's 47 now. She's 47. So yeah, I know. Winning the last Olympia at 42, it's do you not have hope? I have so much hope for life. It was so great. All right. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with a lot of these categories and the people in them, but I know for Bikini, some of these names I do not even know. I'm going to be honest. But
I know a few of them. I'm looking at the list right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know a few of them. Oh, I love that Maureen. I don't know how to say her last name. Maureen B. Let's go with that. She is. I think she's Puerto Rican, unless I just don't know my flags very well. But like I looked her up on Instagram. She's so stinking cute. She's got a cute little body. She's a little thing. She's a cutie. I don't know. It's really like mad respect to these girls, but it is so hard to differentiate like who is better than the other because they're all just so damn good. But like I've judged Bikini before and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. You know, it was like I didn't have the eye to like pick them apart. I was like, they all look amazing. I don't know how to do it. But yeah, Ashley K, I spent weekend with that girl in the hotel room and that girl is hysterical. Like hands down, one of the funniest people I've ever met aside from myself. And she's funny. Like she had me beat. What can I say?
I think Laura Lee is a favorite for sure. Yes. I love her physique so much and she's just beautiful. And then Elisa Piccini,
she's just a cutie. She's a babe.
With the curly hair and she's always like doing like her little TikTok dances, even though
wait, no, Elisa won. She's not, isn't she? Yeah. I think we're thinking of two different people.
Which is, hold on, let me look her up.
Piccini, she won the Arnold in 2020.
Yeah.
The other one that I know who you're talking about though. I love her too.
Attila is her Instagram is the one I'm thinking of, who's super
okay. Cool. Yes.
But Issa is because she came in basically a little bit too hard, too muscular in 2021. And I'm kind of curious if she's toned it down or what's going to happen here. I think once Janet stepped down, they stepped up the musculature because Janet had a much more kind of just like a boosted bikini body. You know what I mean? Like your body it was not super muscular at all. And I think they kind of bumped things up a little bit. So, but I think those are our top contender. I know Ashley, she's been in and out of this for a while, and I'm kind of curious where she's going to end up with this. We'll see.
I think she continues to get better. You know, obviously Ashley's always going to be in the mix, you know, but what did she do? She did the Romania Pro in 2021 and then obviously went into the Olympia, but it seems like last season she was progressively getting a little bit better each go around. I don't know how the girl does it personally. She does like every single show. It's crazy, but I mean, it works for her. She enjoys it and she does seem to improve show to show. So I think she'll definitely be in the mix with the Arnold.
I think she's one of the oldest girls on there just because her series of wins were in the early 2000s, were they not?
Crazy.
Yeah. So I think
she's like I think she's the most winningest pro.
Yeah. I think with Bikini it's the one category where you don't want to see a lot of muscle maturity, and the girls definitely do better when they're younger. So so I think the lifespan, it's not that it's not 10 years, but it's an earlier 10 years of one's life rather than, where you see, especially with figure is more like your 30s, and then women's physique can be like mid 30s to, already into 40s. So it's kind of crazy. Do you guys know how old Sarah Villegas is? I don't even know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Sure.
She's one of those that's like maybe in her late 20s, or she's going to surprise you and she's in her like early 40s or something. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I was always curious about that too.
Google. Kira. Google. Go. Who's the Googler?
I'm a Google whore. Seriously, my clients will say like one word and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm going to look it up. Like, I have to like know everything.
I do that too. You know, it's funny. I was listening to a YouTube video of Jordan Peterson, and they were talking about how important college is nowadays. And it's like, he goes, do you have one of these? he's like, you can learn so much if you want to, because you have so much information right at your fingertips. And even though it's not like a 4-year or whatever, it's like you can find out information about anything. And I am exactly the same way, Kira. I'm like, wait, what is that? I'm just gonna look like, let me read about this a little bit more. Did you find her age?
Well, I think I looked up the wrong person or spelled her name incorrectly, because I'm getting some like actresses or something. Oh wait, here we go. That's her Instagram.
The girl, Jourdain, Jourdann. She's another.
I always have been a fan of her look. I think
Yeah.
she'll be.
Mm-hmm.
She found the.
Do you find it? Are you agreeing with? I don't.
Oh, I'm agreeing with Brooke. I just realized who she is, and she's super cute. She has curly hair.
Yeah.
She is just a babe. Yeah, she did really well. She was like top 10 at the Olympia, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was one of the ones where you know who they are, because when the girl walks out, you like can't take your eyes off of her.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, and you remember her even after all the other ones cycle through. Those are the physiques that are the winning physiques, you know?
Yeah. Well, they have that complete package. You know what I mean? Their physiques look great and they're on point, but everything, hair, makeup, posing. And you're absolutely right. You, from the moment they walk out on stage, you're drawn to them and you're continuing to think about them even after the fact. So I think, to be honest, with every list at the Arnold, it's going to be tough because each lineup is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, you know.
It's always fun watching the competitors on their social media as well, but it's super eye-opening to see them all on stage at the same time. You know, you know this, but it's really just eye-opening to see, like, oh, somebody can look great all by themselves, but then when you put them next to somebody, you're just like I noticed it even with so we'll go on to, I want to talk about the wellness division a little bit, but it's really interesting because you just have no idea how big somebody is until they're standing next to somebody else.
You don't know, truly, you have no idea how good you are or how good a particular person is until you're standing right next to somebody. And you don't know how good you are until you're sitting next to somebody that's better than you. And you're like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You know?
And on stage, they're just like, you know, like I remember one of my friends stepping off stage and she was like, how'd I do? And we're like, you are center. And she was like, I know, but I can't see myself compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
So
I think I might have the answer.
Oh,
okay.
So I did a little digging, and she graduated with her bachelor's degree in 2012, which means she graduated if she followed, you know, graduating high school, like, you know, 4 years prior to that.
Yeah.
Possibly. So then that would make her about 32, if that's, so we'll say maybe 32.
yeah, that sounds
about right.
Yeah.
I would say so too. Okay. So for wellness, we have Dr. Senny Andrews, which we have seen her looking shredded as
that girl, when she was prepping for the Arnold, I swear it was like 12 weeks out and she's like, prep for the Arnold, 12 weeks to go. And I'm thinking, you can literally step on stage tomorrow.
Right.
Be completely fine. She's shredded. The girl looks insane.
Well, and you know what's funny is like people always, I want people to understand this too, that drugs don't have anything to do with this level of leanness. This is really a level of discipline that is above all things else, because yes, it is very difficult, especially for women, to get rid of that lower body fat. But when you continue with your diet and your, you know, your cardio and everything else, body fat comes off the last places it's stored, and it will come off. It just takes time. And a lot of times you do sacrifice some size and whatnot in other areas, especially if, like, you know, you're very lower body fat dominant. But I know a ton of people who have been able to, I mean, it's like the guys that, you know, who have the abs, who are real skinny, you know what I mean? It's like, drugs don't have anything to do with leanness, really. That is all and she is extremely disciplined.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you've seen any of her YouTube videos, she talks about her diet, and she is year round on point with all of these things. So, and you all know too, like it's better to come in too lean and you can always fill yourself back up or even spill over a little bit to try to get that fullness. But if you come in with body fat, there's absolutely nothing you can do. And this is when coaches start pulling all these stupid tricks that just end up messing everything up, because you cannot get body fat off quickly at the end. If it's not there, you're going on stage with body fat on. That's just how it is. Yeah, she looks amazing. But she's definitely smaller. She's a smaller wellness competitor when you see her on stage with the other ones. So we'll see how the lineup is. Urishna is always I think was she 4th at the Olympia or 5th? There were 4th. Yeah.
I believe she's 4th.
Yep. So
she's obviously going to be a contender, and she looks freakish.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's another one that always stays in shape too. Like,
yes.
I've never seen that girl out of shape.
No.
Like always.
Well, and she did bikini first and like had to work like hell to not have her legs blow up. And then when she let her body do what it naturally did, she just totally filled out and fit the wellness division.
Oh yeah.
Who else on here? Angela.
She won, right? The Olympia or no?
Franciel.
Okay, Franciel. Yeah.
I believe won the first, she won Pittsburgh Pro, right? The first wellness.
Okay.
Pro, right?
And then who won the Olympia in wellness? Wasn't it Franciel?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. And then Angela got second. Was she second? There were 3 blondes. Who was the? I can't think of.
She got second, and then what is her name? She's doing the Arnold. She's
Isabel.
Yes, I think.
Is it Isabel Nunez?
Or is it her? Or yeah, I think so. Because Cassandra Gillis, she didn't place as high as I thought she was going to place. So yeah,
I love Cassandra's look.
Yes, I do too. She didn't do very well. Like she didn't do as well as I would have thought. That's what, yeah.
I think she's gonna bring a new and improved package to the Arnold, actually.
Yeah.
What is her Gillis? I don't think I follow her. Maybe I do.
She's tall too, I believe.
I can't find her. Can't find her Instagram.
It's like Cass G Fit. Yep, Cass G Fit.
Oh,
okay.
I do follow her.
Yeah, I follow her too. She's really pretty. Well, they're all really pretty. What am I saying?
Yes, they're all so pretty. This is probably like if I were to walk around in a physique, it would be a wellness physique. Like that would be my. Yeah. We all are like yes.
I think it's easily going to become a favorite division for a lot of different people.
Yeah. Plus they can manage the heels, which to me is just like, okay, you're a rock star.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we got for those are kind of your top. I mean, it's the Arnold, right? You're not going to have a bad, like you said, Brooke, you're not going to have a bad competitor up there. There's only 10 or 12 of each one. So
and they're all going to be in shape. Every one of them, you know.
And they're specifically picked. So yeah.
Absolutely.
This is almost like I don't know how to compare this to the Olympia, but the fact that it is international. So like you're getting international judges, you're getting like, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's definitely different than the Olympia, but like, yeah, like I think people just know they're going to be seen by people all over the world. It's almost like the Arnold is more popular than the Olympia to a wider audience. And so,
everybody knows that name.
Yes. Well, you know, in the Arnold Sports Festival, it is a huge event, whereas the Olympia is kind of more catered to bodybuilding specifically. The Arnold has like, I mean, it seems like every year there's a new event that's being added, whether it's like ballroom dancing, fencing. I mean, it caters to so many different people, you know? So I think you could be a fan or you're a spectator for one particular sport, and then you just happen to go there and now you're watching bodybuilding, you know? So there's definitely a huge audience there from people all over the world.
Well, the coolest thing is like I get so into the strongman stuff. Like I love watching the strongman competitions. Yeah. When I took Anna in 2015 and we were at finals and they did like the finals of the strongman on stage before the competition started. And she got so hyped about that. It was just so much fun to see. I think it was Seth Shaw, maybe. I think that's
Brian Shaw.
Brian Shaw. Yeah. Yes. And he he was, I mean, lifting all of these things over his head and whatnot. And everyone's screaming, like, how many times can you lift it up? And it just was crazy. The crowd went crazy for that. It was really, really cool. All right. So for figure, Wendy Fertino, she's like looking shredded as hell. I've seen her, if you're following her on Instagram. I don't know, you guys, is anybody ever gonna knock Sydney down?
Sydney's unreal. I'll tell you, the Olympia, this past Olympia, I think is the closest that I feel like she's ever been to getting beat.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that kind of lit a fire under her because she looks like she's coming in incredible shape. So I'm really actually pretty excited to see her step back on stage for the Arnold because I think she's gonna be there to make a statement.
Absolutely. One of my favorite is Natalia Soltero. I
love her.
I know, like if it wasn't Sydney, I would want Natalia to, I just love her physique so much.
Well, Natalia got second right after Olympia.
I think so.
Yes. And that's, I think, gosh, she won the Arnold Classic. Honestly felt like she was pretty close to beating Sydney. That's why I think, man, it's going to be close. I think it's definitely going to come down to the two of them.
Well, you know what's funny is, I mean, I think we all know that Sydney has scoliosis, so she has that unevenness in her back. And yet, you know, there were years when, you know, I saw, you know, especially when we had Latoria up there and Candace, when you had the three of them up there, it's a picture in my head, like of them doing their quarter turns over and over. And you just go back and forth between the three of them trying to figure out like who is better because they were so similar and all so perfect. I've always been a big fan of Candace Lewis's physique. Like she has had those giant balloon quads and the waist so tiny. And it was just it was like a smoother sort of hourglass type of shape than Sydney's is much more freakish, I think. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if somebody's going to knock down Sydney and what is it going to take for them to say it's time for her. I mean, she's 5 times Miss Olympia now. So.
Have you ever done the Arnold before? You know, because like a lot of times if you win the Olympia, a lot of people don't go and do the Arnold, you know?
I think last year she skipped it, but otherwise I think she's done the Arnold like every year.
Okay. Yeah. I was curious.
She doesn't.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say she doesn't step that far away from being out of shape either. Yeah.
I personally think that this Arnold kind of means a lot for everybody because it's going to be the first Arnold that's somewhat normal post-COVID, right? So I think personally, I think a lot of these competitors are going to come in and try to make a statement. You know, they're going to be bringing their absolute best. So it's just a shame that there's no women's physique or women's bodybuilding.
It is weird.
Or men's 212.
Why wouldn't they do women's physique? That was like, it was there last year. Why wouldn't they do it this year?
You know, I hate to say this, but in years past for the women's physique division, they didn't even have like an athlete or meet the competitor. That's what I'm trying to say. So like they didn't have a meet and greet, but they had a meet and greet for like every other division, you know? So that to me, it's kind of like hurtful, you know? I feel like the Arnold and the Olympia are the two most prestigious stages that any pro dreams about stepping on. So I think every pro division should be honored at both the Arnold and the Olympia, you know?
Right.
So to not have those divisions there, it's kind of hurtful, you know? It sucks. It makes you feel like, are we the ugly stepsister of the sport? You know, it's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. Well, because it's been included in the past couple of years, you know, like, so why all of a sudden are they like, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
you guys aren't. And yeah, like the times that they have included it, it's kind of just been like, you and men's physique get like, you don't get like the same prestigious like acknowledgement as everybody else. And I never understood that.
Well, like I talked to, I think it was Karina, Nascimento when we had our interview, and I was talking about how they did the women's physique stage at the sports festival. And I said, do you think that is it a plus or a minus? And she said, I always liked it because we were right in the center of the expo, and it gave the average person an opportunity because they weren't going to buy tickets to go to the show and kind of see, it's almost like they had to pull some of the categories in to be at the expo so that people understand what this expo is really centered on. But at the same note, you don't get to step on this prestigious stage either, so yeah, it's interesting. I don't understand it at all. And I don't know who decides which categories are being showcased and which aren't. I mean, it just seems weird to only select some.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't know if it would be more of like up to the promoter's discretion on what divisions will be allowed there, but it's just frustrating, And here's the thing, I am pretty realistic when it comes to like, I understand that some women's sports, they're not going to bring in as much money as maybe the men's, right? I understand that it is what it is, but to eliminate those sports is like baffles me, because I feel like we all deserve to have that equal platform. We all work hard. I mean, the women's physique competitors, we diet, we train hard, we bust our butts. Same thing, women's bodybuilders. I mean, it's an extreme sport. It's tough, it's challenging. So you take those divisions out and it makes you feel like you're less equal to every other pro that is able, or at least has the opportunity to compete on that stage, but I hope they bring it back to next year. I think it would be a shame if they don't.
Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I would love to have some sort of an explanation as to why they pick who they pick, because it's like, it's not going to be a detriment. Like, why would it be a detriment to display all of the categories? Is it a money thing, like distributing more of the wins amongst more people? I mean, that festival makes so much money,
I can't imagine how much money that thing brings in.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly not like, I mean, the money for the Olympia has to be all raised and donated. It is not just from, and especially with them doing live streams now, which I have to say I love, but I bet you the revenue from the live stream is like, I mean, even revenue from the live stream has got to be huge because like I've been to some of those shows live, but unless you can get a seat right up front, you are better off watching the live stream because you're going to be able to see it better. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, those are kind of the favorites. I don't, Nicole Zenobia is always one that has placed in the top 5. And
recognize a couple of these names, but I like that Anne DeJong, or I'm probably saying it wrong.
We're like,
I know I just butchered it. Anne DeYoung. I know it's never what it looks like. So
maybe. Anne DeJong, she's Korean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Half my family's Korean. I should know better.
So
I like her.
I have to say, is it Lola Montez? Oh my gosh, let me see if
I'm trying to
yeah, Fit Lola. Okay, so her Instagram is like, she has an own. Is this who it is who has the OnlyFans? I think she has a OnlyFans.
Oh.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's. Oh no, is this who I'm thinking of? It's not who I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of. There's another. I can't think of what her name is. But anyways, but Fit Lola is definitely. Do you guys follow her?
No, I was just gonna find her. Okay, Fit Lola. I'm gonna find her.
It's Fit_Lola Montez. Her.
Okay.
I was trying to think if this is the girl. Is this the girl with the calves?
The girl with the calves.
I just don't. I want to say that she has another. I don't want to confuse her with. Yes, she does. Okay, it is her. So she has another Instagram. She does have an OnlyFans. So her photos are a little bit more sexual, I guess I would say, but her physique is one of my absolute favorites.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, like you, yeah. So if you follow her Fit_Lola Montez, that is her, her more professional.
I do like her. I love her physique too. I've seen her and I was like, oh, I forgot her name, but yeah, I thought she was Zenobia, but she's not. Yeah.
You see the calves? It's freaking crazy. It's crazy. Just watching her walk, like she has a ton of videos and stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, she does have like an OnlyFans or whatever, but her pictures are, so they're PG-13, whatever. So we're loving her. Okay. And then, yeah, some of these there's like 4 or 5 other names I'm not super familiar with, but I bet you that if I look close enough that we follow on Instagram for sure. All right, what else we got? Fitness.
Yeah.
This is
I'm pro Missy all the way.
Aw, yeah, I like her.
Who's the current Miss Olympia? Why can't I think of her name?
Wendy.
Whitney Jones.
Yeah, who I'm thinking of Wendy Fortino.
I know, yeah. I thought that too, yeah.
Whitney, so she's not doing it because because she is the winner. So it is gonna be, between Missy and Sarah Kovac, who I love, Ariel Kadar.
Yeah, Kadar, she's looking like shredded. I think she looks right now from the post that I've seen on her Instagram. It looks like she's going to be bringing her best package yet. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
She's like super sweet. I like her. She's very sweet.
Yeah.
I do too.
And she's like she's so pint sized. She's so cute.
She is a little thing.
Yeah, like she was shorter than I am, and I'm like, oh my god, button. I love you. She's a cutie.
Yeah, for sure. I have to like Missy's physique will always be one of my favorites. She is such a freak. Like I don't know of anybody who is so freaking wide. She is so wide.
And she has like I feel like she's also like drastically improved her physique so much from like. Yeah, right. Like the first couple Olympias she was in, or maybe the first one, I remember. But I remember like she looked great. Yes, her routine was great. But then like all of a sudden she just like went from 0 to high, like just so much of a drastic change and just improved tremendously. So like it's amazing.
I have to share this. So when I did an interview with her, I asked her about that. I said, what changed? Because you all of a sudden were just like within a few, like probably 3 years, she just became perfect. You know what I mean? Like everything was just perfect. And she said, I went from doing my prep to being on point year round. And she said, I'm just on point all the time. And you can tell because when she does her post, she'll say how many more days till the next she's counting down the days, making every single day count, doing every day exactly the same. And she said that was the difference. I treated my off season as an improvement season, and I was never off again. She just took it seriously year round. So,
well, it definitely shows.
yeah.
Brooke, you're the same. I would say,
good,
Brooke, you're the same way.
great.
Brooke, you know, Brooke, you've done the same thing. Like you have always stayed like so in shape, even in the off season, and clearly it has worked for you. So
Yes.
I would say you're the same way. Like you definitely worked hard at that, and you've watched that happen, you know, over the years.
I try to stay within reason. It's easier for me to stay within reason and not gain an excessive amount of weight, because it's just going to be so hard for me to pull off. I would just rather stay regimented year round.
It's always harder for people who have a very active lifestyle, because what you're trying to do is create a bigger energy deficit, and you already have created a huge energy deficit that you're trying to, you know, make up for. And if you're like Brooke, you're a personal trainer, you teach classes, what that ends up is just adding more activity on top of all your activity. So it's really hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good job, Brooke.
Yeah.
So funny. Well, that's everything. We're gonna talk about the guys.
No.
They don't talk about
I
us.
honestly, I would not even, if you mentioned the guys, I would, wait, men's physique? I didn't know they were having men's physique. How are they having men's physique, but not women's? Oh God.
They literally have everything for the pros except men's 212, women's bodybuilding, women's physique.
They're not
I
doing
did not realize that. That's crap.
And yeah, there's no men's 212 either.
Oh my gosh.
It sucks. It
This-
really does.
I just want to say, for the classic, men's classic, I'm hoping that Kolasinski, I don't know, his Instagram is like something bear, like mini bear, or I don't know what it is.
No.
That's such a gay men term.
I know it is. It's
You know, like, oh my
Oh, that
God.
is,
I
isn't it?
looked him up. Oh, there he is. He's
Yeah,
a miracle
such a
bear.
bear.
the
that
miracle
mean
bear. I have no idea, but I'm just wanted to be on the record to say that I'm picking him to win classic, because
I liked it.
he's like German, and I think he came in second to Chris Bumstead.
He's a cutie.
Oh, okay. Now I know who he is.
The
Yes.
blonde
Oh, it's
guy.
he's top 4. Yeah.
He did like a little bit of breakdancing. I guess he was like a breakdancer. I don't know.
That's
Uh,
exciting.
Breakdancing is huge in Germany, I think. I don't know.
Hey, that used to be like real popular, breakdancing. I don't know if it is anymore, but at one point it was.
Whitney,
oh my God.
Jones told
I
me,
gotta watch him.
I think that's how she broke her neck, was she was trying to break dance, like doing some breakdancing moves. I don't know. If
But
you
she
ever-
does do some breakdancing in her routines, doesn't she?
Yes, she is so wild. Like she's one of the coolest people that I ever spoke to.
He has so much energy. It's like, please
Yes.
have some, please.
I will always commend those fitness girls because they are so dieted down, and they get on stage and they tumble. They do all sorts of energetic, acrobatic themed, routines, and they don't skip a beat. It's impressive.
Yeah.
I might literally pass out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think, Oksana will always be my favorite.
Mhm.
I just have because her routines were like emotional. It was like,
Mhm.
yeah, it was just unbelievable. Like, you're like, what am I watching? A ballet here? Like, this is crazy. What? It was just great. It was just, she just was, and then she'd do stunts as well. So yeah, Oksana she'll always be my favorite. I'm just biased. I'm sorry.
My favorite of hers was always like the stripper pole one. I was like,
Yes.
I mean,
Did you see the Michael Jackson one she did?
Yeah.
mhm.
She did like the lean into the crowd. That is like,
Oh, they're all good. Yeah, they're all amazing. But
yeah. She's a performer, just totally a performer.
Yes.
and not like in a gymnastics cheerleading type of way, but in like
a ballet way.
Yeah, ballet with stunts. Like it was craziness. And she's beautiful too. Like she's so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You're like, okay, can't take my eyes off you. Just keep going. Meanwhile, they're like 2 minutes later dying because they it's the worst. All right, you guys want to do some questions?
Yes.
Oh, I want to tell you guys something really funny. Here's a great trick. And this is my daughter. She is diabolical. So if you ever, like, I don't even know this guy. So I keep getting these spam emails from people like, oh, you should have this person as a guest on your podcast. Cause I guess once you have a podcast, like you get spam emails. And they obviously don't pay attention to what your podcast is about. And so they send you all this crap. So I replied I wasn't interested. And then I kept getting more emails. So I finally, the guy's number was on there. I called him. Well, people hire him and he hires somebody else to respond to the emails. So it's like this whole chain. And he was like, I'm really sorry, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm so tired of these emails. How do I make them stop? And then he was like, oh, I can make them stop. I'll take you off the list right now. But if you ever need anything, and then he tried to get me to hire him on the phone.
I'm sorry, but why the hell would you buy into that? Why would you call?
Crazy.
What I tell you about clicking on things you shouldn't click on?
So this is what happened. So probably a month goes by and I start getting emails from him again. And I was just like, I go, that's it. I signed him up for, I took his email and I signed him up for, do you guys know there's that deodorant that's for your private parts called Lumi?
Oh my gosh, no.
I looked it up and I put his email in there as subscribed to.
For you. That's
brilliant.
And then my daughter goes, oh, you should make him a Pinterest account. Pinterest spams you with emails all the time. And I was like, all right, you can take someone else's email, create a username and make a Pinterest account for them. And then Hannah goes, and then you can select what they want to look at. She's like, I don't know, maybe he just wants to look at pregnant women. Well, like you can select.
That's hilarious.
So I went through and I was like, oh, he's going to look at nail art, skater girls, bedroom furniture. And you pick 5 things you're interested in. And then I created his username. His name is Barry Cozier or something. And it was like Care Bear. And then I made a password and put his email in. So he doesn't have the password, but it's his email. And I was like, I haven't gotten any more emails from him. So it's good.
Gotcha. That's actually
gotcha.
So if you ever get a spam email and it's a real email, just go to something, sign them up.
I'd be doing porn or something. I'd send him porn for sure.
Pornhub.
Yes. Gay porn or, just wreck his world. You done messed with the wrong girl.
So I just couldn't believe it. I was like, Anna, guess what I just did? And then she's adds on to it. Oh, you should sign him up for Pinterest.
She's like, oh yeah, that's normal.
I'm like, oh my gosh. All right. So I'm at the gym yesterday and I see somebody doing weighted side bends. I probably see this every time, right? So my question is, what are the most worthless exercises in general, or what are exercises that you don't personally connect with? So what are things you would be like, don't ever do that. It's a waste of time. So I would first say weighted side bends. Number 1.
Hold on, let me look around here. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but what are people doing in your gym right now?
Right now, someone is singing out loud. That's why
we're getting serenaded. I feel like people do weighted side bends thinking they're going to spot reduce their love handles.
Yes.
And it's like, you are over time probably going to just build up muscle there and get a really wide waist. It's just so worthless when you could be doing planks or there's so many other ab and core exercises that are way more effective than the weighted side bend. I don't even understand that. I always think, oh, you don't know what you're doing.
Definitely not. I would say using the arc trainer as a chest dip machine.
Oh,
Then proceeding to add a chain around your neck. And yeah, that gets us fired up about that. Oh God, some others. Oh man. Art.
That's so here I am. I'm like thinking of things. I think Kira, you just nailed it, because I think a lot of people come in and they'll use other pieces of gym equipment for exercises. And that drives me crazy, and I'm not ever trying to like hurt someone's feelings, or you know what I mean? I know some people are in there trying and they're making an effort, and some people might not just know any different, or they're looking up videos on Instagram and it's telling them to do these particular exercises. But machines serve a purpose, and a lot of times people go in there and they do outrageous things. I mean, we have our seated shoulder press. I kid you not, there's people that will go in there, they stand on the seat and they'll do like shrugs. I get it, but I'm like, it would just be easier for you to just go grab a set of dumbbells or go, use a barbell for shrugs. Why are you standing on this? But it happens all the time. And it does bother me to see people do hip thrust off the lying leg curl, if I'm just being honest.
I hate
That
I just had a girl tell me about that at one of the Planet Fitnesses, because one of the Planet Fitnesses, the Smith bar doesn't go all the way to the floor, so you can't do a hip thrust. And she was like, I do it on the leg extension. And I was like, oh yeah. I think I remember trying that at one point at my old gym, but I just go to the other gym.
One of the things, and I understand, I think people are just being lazy in a sense. Like instead, because our Smith machine at my gym is the same way. It does not go all the way down, but you can also just get a barbell and do it off of a bench. You know what I mean? That's fine. It takes a little bit more work, yes, but it'll be okay.
At
the hard stuff.
At the Planet Fitness, you can't have there are no barbells. So I understand how she was trying to utilize. But I don't know if they would if they would kick you off because you're using something the way that you're not supposed to. I don't know. I was going to say also kickbacks on the stair climber, thinking you're working your butt more. Like if you want to do different, like do side steps or backwards, because it makes it more fun and it passes the time. And I can understand some of that stuff, but you're not like working something more by doing like these kickbacks or whatever. Probably increasing your chances. I know it would increase my chance of tripping and falling and like knocking my teeth out.
I see so many people that do things like, and that's what I'm like, you're doing more than you need to for what you're doing. Like you're trying to combine like 5 different exercises into one, when like you're just putting more energy out instead of like actually doing something effective.
Yeah. Speaking of the right amount of energy, these guys next to me last night, the one guy turns to the other guy. He goes, after we train legs, do you want to train shoulders?
Is it a common theme for people to spend hours in the gym? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hours. Oh.
I think, Brooke got a call.
Yeah. I wondered what happened.
All right, there we go. They spend hours in the gym training. Yeah. And I'm not kidding when I say like there's people that will be there for like 4 hours. And I'm like, how do you even have 4 hours to do this? Right. And second, I'm like, it defeats the purpose to be in here that long,
Yeah. So, I mean, the term junk volume comes to mind. It's like your first 10 working, beyond 10 working sets, you know, to 10 really good working sets of whatever for your whole workout, anything beyond that is probably going to be junk volume because your energy towards it tapers, you know, to be less and less. That's why you want to prioritize your important exercises first and, you know, whatever. I mean, that's why exercise selection in order is also important. But I just had to laugh because I was like, when I first started training, I was one of those people that would spend like 2 hours, 4 hours in the gym, just doing every single back exercise I could do or whatever. But I think it was more of a therapy. And then I read this quote that said, you know, you can go to the gym and therapy. Like you don't have to make the gym your therapist. You can make both effective. I thought that was pretty, it was pretty funny. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of compound exercises because Brooke, we had touched on this after we got off our last, when we were talking about how like you get stronger when you use your compound exercises, but your accessory exercises don't get you stronger in your compound exercises, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I think it's huge to not skip out on your compound movements. And I think a lot of times people do skip out on them because they're hard. You know what I mean? Like barbell squats are tough. I get it. It's hard. But I will preach barbell squats for the rest of my life, you know? And I know some people will kind of say otherwise, and that's fine. But the only time I'll tell you not to do a barbell squat is if there's some sort of reason why you can't do one. You know what I mean? If you have some sort of pre-existing injury or whatever the case may be. But I know we did discuss this. If you have a heavy barbell movement, a heavy barbell squat, it is going to benefit you in every other aspect possible. Whereas absolutely, if you're doing leg extensions, I'm not saying don't do them. I do leg extensions every leg workout, but is that really going to be more beneficial for you? Is it really going to develop the muscle? Is it really going to benefit your barbell squat? I mean, probably not as much. Whereas the barbell squat's going to be a little bit more important, in my opinion, than your leg extensions.
Well, the goal is to always get stronger, and the way you get your whole body stronger is with those big compound movements. I know I just was having dry needling done on my knee because my leg had been bothering me, but I'm like back to deadlifting. I can't even tell you how much I love deadlifts. Like I just love, I would argue probably even over squats that they're like a more beneficial functional movement for like anybody at any age, anytime to just be learning how to do and incorporate because they just do everything, you know, such a great movement. So
I always tell people a good rule of thumb is the hardest exercise that you don't want to do is what you need to be doing. There's a reason why people don't want to do deadlifts. There's a reason why people don't want to do squats. Like they're tough, they're challenging. It's easier to kind of stick to the machine. It's easier to kind of, you know, do machine work and lightweight and things like that. It's easy to kind of get through a workout. Whereas if you're truly going to failure on some of these heavier compound movements, it sucks. Believe me, I get it. It's exhausting by the last set. You don't want to do it, but it will benefit you more in the long run.
I always tease my clients because I'm like, don't tell me that you hate something because I'm going to make you do it. Because that's probably the one thing that you need to do is the thing that you hate. So, you know, like, but in deadlifts, I love having people do deadlifts because they usually end up surprising themselves at how much they can do with proper form. And they end up feeling like badasses because of that. So yeah, I would agree. That's one of my favorites too.
Yeah. So it's so important. I know I just ordered a couple of 10-pound bumper plates off of Amazon because I want to show Anna how to do deadlifts and I want to make sure she has the right height because otherwise, you know, if you're pulling with like 5 pounds and they're the little ones or 10 pounds and they're the little ones. So I was like, it'll be a good base, but yeah. And the other thing is too, they burn so many calories because it just totally taxes your central nervous system. Like So I was like, okay, you know, anytime you start like a training program or incorporating a new exercise, you want to like, unless you want to be really, really sore and not be able to do them again. Like, so I was like, I was starting out with putting 25s on them. And I was like, I'm just going to do 3 sets of 15 today. And I actually was deadlifting almost every day for a week, just kind of adding a little bit of weight. And so I could get used to that. Otherwise, like, I remember too, like my traps and everything hurt so bad from the, the first time, like, or getting back into them. But I was so exhausted from, it's just like a movement that once you start getting into heavy failure weight, you like, I remember laying in bed and I was like, you know how your body just feels like it's buzzing because it's just like, you're so tired, but you almost can't sleep because you're just, I don't know, almost feels like you're just burning calories. It's super weird. But those heavy compounds. Next, I'm going to start benching. Brooke, just watch out.
Hey, I know the bench press is like my favorite. I always bench.
I got to get my shoulder back to a place where I can do it. I did buy a Swiss bar so that I can hold this way instead of this way. And I think that's going to help a lot. So pretty cool. Look at you being all inspiring and stuff. All right. So do you train abs?
I do. But here's the thing, I don't go excessive by any means. I think I kind of tell people abs and calves are like free for all. So like if you want to throw them in at the end of your workouts, you can. The only time I'll tell someone not to train them is if you're abnormally sore. But in the same sense, I'll do ab rollouts, some hanging leg raises, and decline sit-ups. Those are kind of like my 3 go-tos. And I'm not saying that I do all 3 of those movements after every workout. I don't. Sometimes I'll do, like on Mondays, I'll train legs and I'll do one of those 3 ab exercises at the end of my workout. 3 to 4 sets basically until failure. And I'll do that like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that's the gist of my ab workout.
Those are two big John Meadows moves, right? Didn't he usually do hanging leg raises and a decline?
Decline sit up.
Yeah, very cool. Kira.
I hate doing abs. I hate doing abs, but I will train them every once in a while. But I have lower back issues, so like I try to avoid doing certain movements because of that. But yeah, like I'm trying, like I do them every once in a while. But I always tell people, like, if I have, like, for my clients, I'm like, well, it's good to do every once in a while, but if you're doing everything properly too, like you should be using your core regardless. But like everybody thinks they want to train abs like every single day. And I'm like, no, that's definitely, you shouldn't be able to, but also you don't need to, like once or twice a week, whatever. I hate having people do them. I don't like, it's just like, oh, do it on your own, please. But no, but yeah, like just, and keep it, like Brooke, keep it simple, you know, like she does 3 different exercises. You don't have to do like a round up back handspring and switch it up every day, you know, like just keep it simple with what you're doing. Yeah, for sure. Like simple.
I think this goes along with like the spot training, you know, like people oftentimes they come to me and it's like women, especially, it's they want abs and they want like a firm butt, right? It's always butt, legs, abs, right? And so I'll talk to them and I'm like, you can do 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 crunches, whatever a day. And it's not going to stimulate fat loss in that area. It's not going to do that, you know? So I think people have this like idea that it is going to. The more core work, the more ab work that they do, the more fat that they're going to lose at a rapid rate in their midsection. And that's just not the case. And just like you said, Kira, there's so many exercises that you should be utilizing your core, those heavy compound movements, like a barbell squat, you know, you're depending a lot on your core to help stabilize you. So if you're doing those other exercises, you shouldn't have to have this crazy excessive workload of ab exercises following every workout. You just shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna reiterate exactly what you said, because I was thinking this is why we incorporate those heavy compounds, because it does make you stabilize your core when you're, I remember when I had shoulder surgery, I couldn't load anything overhead. So I was doing like leg presses and leg extensions and a lot of leg stuff. And then the first time that I went back to a squat, my core was so sore because it wasn't used to stabilizing that overhead type of load at all. So you know, anecdotally, I have experienced it myself for sure. So I think I like doing vacuums, especially, I don't know, Kira, if you've ever incorporated vacuums, but they help when I'm having low back pain a little bit, just because I think it kind of stretches things out as well when you're sucking everything in. I don't know. I mean, everything's all connected in there, especially with your psoas wrapping around and everything. So I'm a big fan of vacuums. It also helps with like pelvic floor and everything else. It just, everything is all connected that way.
Yeah, when you guys talked about that one day, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I need to like think more about this and not just think it's like some goofy thing that people are doing. And like I thought it was like a new trend in bodybuilding, and I'm like, no. But yeah, since you guys mentioned it and like put more information out about it, I was like, oh, maybe I should do that. So I kind of tried. I followed your little video, Deb, and I was like, well, I don't know if I just have too much fat on my stomach, but I was like, my thing ain't going nowhere. Like, where are my ribs?
Kind of
Where are my ribs?
You like suck in. You like suck in, and then it's like the same. You're
I was like, there's no change here. Okay.
Yeah, I think they have become very popular, especially amongst like wellness competitors. You see, like, this is how we get our very small waist, but there is a lot of functionality to doing the movement as well. I think it began more as a, like, you know, a yoga or other type of actual functional exercise, and then was incorporated with those other divisions for that reason as well. So yeah, I do love them for that reason. I'm still a big fan of doing pikes on a stability ball. It's another kind of full body, you know, you have to support yourself with your shoulders, and I don't know, I just like those, and it feels a lot better. Like, Kira, I've had that too, because I've tweaked my back, and then I'm like, try to do like a bicycle type movement, and you're like, oh God, that's not that's not good.
Like that unevenness is like,
yeah. So if you can support your back or have it be the opposite of gravity, you're going to be doing a lot better with your ab and core exercises. All right. So are barbell hip thrusts necessary?
no.
Curious.
No. No. If you're like 110 pounds and you're hip thrusting 225, that's sus. That's too sus for me. I can't get down with that. And no. I think I feel more out of like just using, like literally just using a band and maybe like a 25-pound plate and like lifting my toes and like really focusing on the like squeeze. So yeah, I think that's better personally.
Yeah, I'm also with Kira. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing barbell hip thrusts. I personally do them, but it's not an exercise.
Oh, that's surprising, Brooke. You really, I just lost all respect.
We need video.
I'm going to record myself doing barbell hip thrust, and I'm posting it on Instagram this week. I think though, here's the thing: you see so many people and they're lifting outrageous amounts of weight on barbell hip thrust, and they're not even really getting what they should be getting out of the movement. So a little bit of weight goes a long ways on those. And if you're lifting crazy amounts, you're not really even benefiting yourself. So I think, yes, you can do them. Obviously, it's not going to hurt you to do them, but if you're going to do it effectively. Make sure you're doing it right. No one's impressed with a 315-pound barbell hip thrust, I promise you.
Like for like 2 or 3 reps or something. I don't feel like this is a movement that is something that you're benefiting from with progressive overload because of the setup. Like, I feel like, okay, so you are probably burning a lot of calories when you're doing more weight because you're moving a huge amount of weight, but it's the same as like like we know as somebody who's trying to build muscle or target a muscle effectively, it's the same as if you did a 1 rep max squat, you're just moving the weight. You're not really targeting the specific muscles. And if you lighten the weight, you're going to feel like if you lighten a barbell hip thrust to just doing a plate for 15 reps or something slow and controlled with contact with the muscle, like as much as possible, you're going to feel that much more effectively than doing 6 reps and then next week doing 7 reps with 4 plates. And I agree, Kira. I think it's suspect.
Totally.
You're spending a lot of energy doing that as well, I think. So I don't know. That's just us. And who knows, like if people who have big glutes who do those, like if they, I mean, the experiment would be to do everything else the same, but lighten up on your barbell hip thrust and see if like, is it more effective? Is it less effective?
I think that's like, we need to tell people too, like if you're doing barbell hip thrust, it's not going to make you have these crazy round full glutes. Like it's you doing barbell hip thrust in addition to other things as well. You know what I mean? So throw them into your routine if you want to, but that's not going to be what specifically builds your glutes. You know what I mean? So I think nowadays it's trendy. Like you see all these like glute workouts on Instagram or social media and people try them out. And that's great. I'm never going to like dog somebody for just going into the gym and working out, but be realistic with yourself. So keep in mind that those individuals, I mean, you see all these mat bodybuilders and they have huge glutes, and you don't see them doing like barbell hip thrusts. Right. So, you know, again, heavy compound movements will really bring your physique to a whole nother level.
Okay, hey girls, I gotta go.
Bye.
I'll see you next week, okay?
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. On the same note, I was going to say, I do think it is a functional exercise. And I think it's important, especially if you do, I mean, as somebody who is like, or like now I'm thinking it now, but a lot of people sit at a desk all day and are sort of hunched over. And I think doing that opposite movement is really good because sitting on your glutes and everything, it sort of weakens that whole posterior chain. And so I think that I do think it's a good functional movement as well. But again, with the crazy weight.
And I know everybody's guilty of that. I mean, you could apply that concept to literally every exercise. People get crazy with the weight and they're not doing anything for their physique except like risking themselves at injury, you know? Right. But I think it's to each their own. Like if you're going to do it right, you know? But again, is it an exercise that's going to make or break you? No, probably not.
Right. Jordan Peters always used to say that like his physique really started to change when he stopped focusing on moving weight and actually, you know, lightening up the weight and connecting with the exercise. And on the same note, I don't want to encourage people to go too light because I mean, women tend to do that anyways. So, but finding that good balance of like, you know, testing out all the what's too much, what's not enough. So, oh my gosh, why do you think people don't see results?
Oh, it's a real like general question, but I think there's a lot of different answers for that. To be honest, obviously, I think lack of consistency is huge. And I mean that like in every single aspect. I think people don't see results because they can't be consistent in the gym. They can't be consistent with their eating. They can't be consistent with their water. They can't be consistent with their sleep. You know, it's all of those components, you know, and I think they're really under this impression that they can go to the gym, work out and, you know, see some pretty rapid results pretty quickly. And that's just not the case, you know? So a lot of times it takes time, it takes patience. So you have to be consistent and it might be 6 weeks before you even see any remote change in your physique. And I'm not saying like a drastic change. I'm saying something very small. And then another 6 weeks, then you might see something else, but you have to remain consistent, you know, and obviously people go to the gym and they have just a wide variety of reasons. Maybe they're overweight, whatever the case may be. But if you are going to the gym and you're overweight and your goal is to kind of trim down a bit, you got to keep in mind you probably didn't gain that weight overnight. You're not going to drop it overnight either. Same thing applies with building muscle. Building muscle it's not easy. It's not quick. So you have to make sure that if you're going to do it, you have to be in it for the long run. Otherwise, you're just going to keep spinning your wheels. You're going to be good for a couple weeks and then quit. Be good for a couple weeks and then quit. And it's just a slippery slope and a never-ending cycle. People aren't consistent.
Don't you think that they focus a lot on doing something in order to get to a goal and then being done with it? And instead of thinking like, I just feel like there is such a focus on the goal and not on the behavior that it takes to get there. And so people think, well, once I get to my goal, then I don't think they even think about this, but they know in their head, they want to get there so they can go back to their old lifestyle. And you really have to focus on things that you can do every day on a daily basis that are going to get you to your goal without the focus really being on the goal. Because, you know, I mean, this is why people do these like 6-week programs. And then let's say if it doesn't work for you, like a 6-week shred, now you put all this effort, all this deprivation into this 6 weeks and nothing happens. So of course you're not going to want to do little lifestyle changes to get there, because you couldn't even get there, you know, stepping on the gas pedal in a short period of time. So I really just think people need to focus on the healthy changes that they can make every day. Like I've said this before, if you focus on being healthy, you will get healthy. But, you know, they just want it to happen so that they can be done with all this stuff that's so difficult. And, you know, it is difficult.
It is. And you said it perfect. Have goals for yourself. Obviously you can set short-term goals, long-term goals. Yes, I'm so for that. I am that kind of person too. I like to set those goals for myself, but it has to be a behavior change. You said it perfectly. It has to be a behavior change. And if it's not, you're probably never going to change, you know, because once you lose weight or gain muscle or whatever it is that your goals are, your physique is not going to just stay like that. It's not like, oh, I've got this great look and I'm so happy with it. I've achieved my goal. Now I can just go back to my old lifestyle habits. No, that's not the case. You have to, if that's the physique you want, that's great. But you still have to maintain that physique that you've built. You know, it just doesn't stay there. So I think you're absolutely right. It has to be a behavior change. Otherwise, you're not going to you're not going to achieve the goals that you want.
Yeah. And those behaviors, you basically, like, you have a set of behaviors that you're doing, they have to be replaced with new behavior. So behavior has to replace behavior. So think about what it is that you're doing that's not getting you where you need to be, and like what you could do to change that. And it might just be, you know, everything has a trickle down effect. It could just be like, well, if you focus on getting you know, close to a gallon of water in a day, you're really going to eliminate some of the other things, like probably eating when you're not hungry, or, you know, there's things that you can do. But I think people focus on like, I want to lose 10 pounds, and they don't think about what it takes in order to lose that 10 pounds today, right now. What do I need to do today in order to reach that goal?
You're so right.
Oh, and I was going to say too, I think people don't stay going in one direction as well. They flip flop a lot. So that consistency that you spoke of has to be, you know, a consistency, like, and it's tough. Like if you're trying to build muscle, you might be putting on some body fat at the time. People freak out about that, and then they want to go into a cut again. And, you know, the opposite is the case as well. It's like, well, they want to keep doing a cut, but then they, you know, you get to a point where you realize, well, you haven't really built any muscle. So, you know, now you have to reverse. But then going into a muscle building phase, it's like years. It takes so long. So then they're like, well, I don't like being this, have this much body fat. So you really have to pick a direction and slowly go in that direction.
Yeah, exactly. The route that you choose, you have to stick with it. You can't continue to flip flop, you know? And that applies, I tell people that all the time, that applies in every aspect of life. Like if you choose something, you need to stick with it, right? Really like write it out. And then once you reach that goal or whatever, that end result, then you can kind of go from there. Okay, should we go back into a cutting phase or should we go into a building phase, whatever the case may be, but write it out and then you can set plans going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, as far as a weight loss phase goes, I'm a big fan of doing that for a period of time and then sustaining that for a little bit so that you have like a break from being in that deficit. So, because you hear about this too, people dieting for 6 months or a year, and then they spend 4 months, binging and putting that weight back on because they never had a break from their diet. So, and that goes back to these lifestyle changes that are sustainable, because it can't feel like it's so much effort that it's prison and you want to escape from it. It has to be something that is within the realm of what you are capable of doing on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because like, when is this done? It's not going to be. Yes, it's not going to be great. Should you train a sore muscle?
No. That's
Next question. No.
Like, if you are still sore, if your legs are still trash from a leg workout that you did earlier in the week, and you're going to go in there and try to break them down again, you're again spinning your wheels and you're not doing anything to yourself except hurting yourself. So no. And then people do that all the time. Oh gosh, I'm so sore. I'm like, well, then don't train. Yeah. Listen to your body. Your body is an amazing vessel and it's going to alert you when you should do things and when you shouldn't. So rest is huge. That's when your rest and recovery is when you're still building muscle. So if you are asking yourself to build, but you continue to break it down, you're not ever allowing it time to recover, to rebuild, and there's a difference between like being stiff and sore, maybe going for a walk and just trying to like get some blood and stretching. I'm not saying you can't do that. So I don't want people to kind of get confused in that regard, but if the muscle is still sore, you probably shouldn't go in there and break it down again.
Yeah. And, you can test this out. If you think like, maybe I'm too sore to train legs, go into the gym, walk on the treadmill for 10 or 15 minutes, get off the treadmill. If you're still feeling a lot of that, soreness and that fatigue, or even, if you do your first set and you realize like, oh, this feels very heavy, I'm not going to be able to even match what I did last time or whatever, then, there's ways of measuring that. And then, like you said, I think doing, some stretching or some active recovery is really, really great. But yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of people start off programs. I'm on this page on Facebook where they do like a lot of 4 and 6 and 8 week programs.
Yeah.
These women who are new to this will have like, they're just insanely sore like the first week or whatever, which I think is a flaw in the programming, because you shouldn't be doing either that level of intensity or that much volume at the beginning of a training program, which is why I think it should either be written in your program or with your coach. You should be like, this first 2 weeks is the first phase of your program, and we're getting the feel of these exercises. Because if you kill yourself the first 2 weeks, like this is a lot of times why people quit going to the gym in the first place. It's just too much and it hurts. It does hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason I always tell people slow and steady always wins. And I still practice that. And I might almost be like more slow and steady than what I should be. You know what I mean? But always preach that. I always just believe it, slow and steady, gradual progress is the best route to go. And that is regardless of your goals. It doesn't matter if you want you're just more of like a general health and wellness client, or if you're wanting to compete at some point, slow and steady will always win. It will help you with those behavioral changes that you're trying to change in order to achieve this kind of lifestyle. And plus, if you're cutting or if you're building or whatever the case may be, you're going to be more likely to be able to sustain that and progress after the fact, versus if you're giving yourself this crazy deadline and you're having to do crazy whatever in order to achieve that goal. Chances are, if you do achieve it in that short amount of time, you're probably just going to reverse terribly, gain weight and then some. So it's just not practical. It's not realistic. So slow and steady always wins the race to me. So if you're starting a new program, ease into it instead of going like all out, week one. You're absolutely right. People are like so trash after that first like few days of training. They're so sore, and they're less likely to even come back to the gym at that point, because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is unreal. How can I live like this? It's not going to be like that. Obviously you're still going to get sore. I still get sore, but it's not to the point of like, I'm miserable, can't function, so slow and steady. Slow and steady wins.
Yeah. And every time you incorporate like a novel exercise or a novel stimulus. So if you're changing up, this is also the problem with changing up your workouts all the time. You will always be sore. And, people use this as a measure of something being a good workout. And it's like, well, what you're doing is you're just constantly, like you said, trashing yourself, and you're not creating an adaptation. So, sometimes I am sore after a workout and sometimes I'm not. And I don't go, oh, that wasn't a good workout. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to be able to work out again sooner than I thought, because I didn't, I'm not experiencing this amount of soreness. And it could be from other factors too that aid in recovery. And I think it's not always that the workout was too much. You have every extreme from people who are like having alcohol in the evening, which is going to hinder your recovery, to just not going to bed on time, or not getting enough water, or a good post-workout meal or something like that. So
huge.
All the other elements of recovery. It's not just you overtrained.
Absolutely, you're so right.
What is the worst date you've ever been on?
Oh my gosh. I don't feel like I have any like terrible dates. Like I don't have any nightmare stories. Once Anthony and I, we were in Eureka Springs one year, and we had stayed at the Crescent Hotel, and we went on this like ghost tour, and the ghost tour was terrible. And I'm like such a horror junkie. I love all that kind of stuff. And Anthony, I'll never forget, he was like losing his mind at this ghost tour because it was so boring. And he was just like, at one point, he's like, we're leaving. So we get off this bus, we get to this location, and we get off the bus, and our tour group goes one way and we go the other way, and we just ditched it, but it was a great experience. I mean, it was a fun weekend, and I guess if I had to say that was a horror date, I guess that's what I'll say. It's our, terrible date, but it wasn't, the date itself was terrible. It was the experience, but it was pretty funny in the long run. So.
Oh my gosh. It's good that you haven't had anything super crazy.
Yeah. I truly haven't. That's kind of awesome to say, but because I think even then that date it was pretty hilarious. I mean, I was dying laughing the entire time this was going on, but it was, that ghost tour was not what I thought it was going to be by any means. I kept thinking, I'm like, oh, it's going to get better at some point. It'll get better. It never did. Never improved.
Were the other people like, ooh, ah, or no?
I don't know. His family was with us, and we actually left his family there, and we skipped out. We went and we ate at a restaurant, that was actually pretty good. But I think maybe other people were trying to be like polite and courteous, and
sure.
It was, again, like I said, kind of just laughing at the situation, but he was like I cannot do this. I cannot be here for one more minute. You know, he was ready to get out of there. So it was boring. And I assure you that everybody else that was on that tour probably thought the same thing, but they were gonna take it in, you know, they were committed.
It's so funny. There's nothing worse than wasted time. You know what I mean?
No. And I think I am a very patient person to a certain extent, but there's things like that where I'm like, oh my gosh, I could be doing so much more with this time, you know? And Anthony's he's not very patient. So.
Is this somebody that is a friend of yours? Like, have you dated or you guys?
Yeah. So Anthony and we dated, gosh, for a very long time. And we are still, I guess we're not dating now, but we still love each other, still adore each other. So we're very, very close. I think we'll remain close for the rest of our lives, probably. And if at some point in time in my life, if I'm like not married and he's not married, maybe we'll get back together.
It's good to have like somebody that you have a deal with.
I know, like, hey, if we have not met anybody by like we're 40, let's get back together. I don't know.
The dating scene is crazy though. Yeah,
it is. In one thing, I'm not really concerned with dating right now. I'm just so busy. I'm so busy, and my mind is just kind of like elsewhere. So I just don't even worry about it right now. At some point, if I like happen to find somebody, that's great. But truly, to be honest, it's not even something that I'm concerned with. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people look because something's missing in their lives. And if there's nothing missing, then you're not really looking, you know?
Absolutely. You know, I'm a firm believer in you have to find your own happiness before you can kind of like be with anybody else. And I am happy. I'm so happy. And right now I'm just, who knows? I'm just trying to focus on right now, you know? So I take things like literally hour by hour, day by day. Some days are better than others, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't right now, it doesn't. It's completely fine. I'm content either way.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So I was dating when after I went through my divorce, and my worst date was this guy. He picked me up to go to a wedding, which I love going to weddings. Like I just love going to weddings. They're great, you know? And it was like 45 minutes away. And when we got there, we were sitting I don't think we even went through like the wedding. We were all sitting outside at like tables. We got seated at this table, and he met up with a friend of his from the past. And because I guess they set them at the table together, and they started talking about their past drug use and like
Oh,
cocaine and stuff and like partying. And I was just like, what? And then he was texting him across the table, and they're like laughing, and I'm like, what? And he's like, we're trying to find who the hottest girl at the wedding is. And then they're like, yeah, we decided that he was like, it's the Asian girl over there in the yellow dress. And I was just like, all right, I think I want to go home. And he was like, he goes, are you kidding? And I go, no. I want to go home.
What a jerk. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, you just told your date you found the hottest girl at the wedding. I'm like,
No,
yeah.
insane.
Yeah. So he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. So like 45 minutes back, drive me home. I'm like, see ya.
Nowadays, just like take an Uber, like go to the bathroom and never come back. That would be awesome.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah, because this was like probably 2011.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sure.
So crazy. I think I know like nowadays I probably would have seen like red flags, but at the time I was just like, oh, this will be fun, you know?
Absolutely.
People are so crazy. They're so crazy. Let's do one more. Let's see. I don't know. What would be? Here's a good one. Who are some of your favorite pro athletes now and when you first got into the sport?
I think when I first got in at that given time, Dana Lynn Bailey was a huge favorite. Dana and Juliana have always been two of my like idols in the sport. Obviously, women's physique is like close to my heart, and to see them just thrive was inspirational to me, you know, because they kind of they set the tone for everybody else. You know, they're still, to be honest, they're the has-beens, but they're what created this division. If it weren't for them, I feel like women's physique really wouldn't exist, you know, or maybe not to the magnitude that it has grown and evolved because of them. But now, here's the thing, I'm a fan of so many different athletes now, and I love the sport of bodybuilding, not just from like the competitive standpoint, but the relationships that I've established through bodybuilding. And this is male and female. You know, I've become fans of so many different competitors, you know, just seeing them compete, obviously in the women's physique division, competing alongside of some of these girls, you cheer for them. You know, I'm competing against them, but I'm cheering for them too, because they're just as inspiring. They've worked just as hard. And it's nice to have that kind of camaraderie with somebody that literally knows what it's like, right? They understand you because they're going through a lot of the same struggles that you're going through. So I'm a fan of so many different competitors now. It would be hard for me to just like label one. But obviously, who's not a fan of Sarah? She's the current champion of the women's physique division. But I've always been a fan of Missy, just because I feel like I've watched Missy grow and evolve into this one of the most amazing athletes in the sport. And so she's somebody that I've really like aspired to be like, you know, just seeing her when she was good, but now she's progressively gotten better. And that's inspiring to see, because a lot of people, they quit. If they're not the best at the first moment they kind of enter into this industry, they fade out quickly. And I didn't see that with Missy. And I think that that's always been something that's been inspirational to me, is she continued. She's progressively gotten better each and every time she steps on stage. So she's a great ambassador for the sport, in my opinion.
When I always look at the women who have been in it a long time. I mean, even like you know, who's somebody who has started when you were so young. To me, I admire the tenacity, because I'm not saying it's not great if you didn't like make it in 3 to 5 years, but there's a lot of respect in that evolution of, you know, I mean, even talking with Juliana, she was in the sport she competed 15 times in figure before she finally came to the United States. And it was like, you know, it's like that many years of competing, and then she just bombed, you know what I mean? That was the very beginning for her. It's the story of a lot of the greatest ones. You know, Ronnie Coleman was the same, you know, first Olympia, like dead last or something like that, you know? And that's when somebody I feel like nowadays would a lot of times hang up their hat and be like, oh, this isn't for me.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, I'm going to put in 10 more years and I'm going to be the greatest who ever stepped on that stage, you know? So there's so much admiration to the dedication. And I feel like that's kind of the theme of what, you know, we have been talking about, even with answering these questions of, you have to find the level you love and you have to be consistent with it. And hopefully that is enough to get you to where you want to be. But yeah, you can see it a lot with the women, especially the women and the men who have been doing this for a long time. Yeah. It's very respectable to me.
It is. It's something too. You think about people that have competed for years and years. They are so inspirational in so many different ways, but the sport constantly evolves. Every division is completely different now than what it was years ago, right? So competitors are getting better and better each and every year. And you see these athletes, these pros that have continued to stick around even with all the changes in the sport. And I admire that because it does evolve so much. So you have to continue to progress and get better. And, that's something that I honestly kind of love about it. But I think a lot of times people come in and they compete and they're maybe not where they want to be and they just quit, and I think here's the thing. Are you ever going to be truly where you want to be? Because even the top level pros, they're the best in the world and there's still room for improvement. They still have areas that they want to improve on and they continue to make those improvements. It might be a small minor detail at that point, but they're still striving to progress at that stage. So I love it. And I think, man, if you are only in bodybuilding to win, your heart's never going to be fulfilled. Obviously we all want to win, but there's just so many different avenues that bodybuilding has opened up for me that I just am so unbelievably grateful for.
Well, Brooke, it's the challenge, right? It's the challenge because like you said, you never really do achieve what it is that you want to. Even the people that win that, achievement, it's still like, now am I going to hold on to this? And what are the criteria going to be for next year? The bar is constantly being raised. Which is one of the things, honestly, that I admired so much about Dana and Juliana, because they set that bar so high. Like if you took Juliana's physique now and it's like, you're still a contender. You know what I mean? Like it still measures right up to the top level Olympians of today. So they definitely set the bar super duper high, but it's that challenge. And I feel like it's such a reflection of life because, like we talked about before we even started recording, life is hard every single day. And every single day you get thrown these challenges. And because you choose to make your life challenging in ways that are, voluntary, when life hands you these other types of challenges that you don't have control over, you're able to struggle through them and muscle through them and problem solve. It's such a teacher for everything else in your life. That's what I love about the sport.
Absolutely. I love this sport. I plan to be involved in bodybuilding for years down the road. Even when my competing days are long behind me, I still want to be involved. I genuinely enjoy it. So I plan to be around for a little bit.
Yeah. And with social media too, it's like, even if you're not, expediting or judging, or maybe someday there'll be the Brooke Walker Pro Show or something, like, who knows, right? Like even with social media, you can still keep up with what's going on. And, that's part of the reason why I started this podcast. I was like, I want to talk about the women in the industry and give them a platform for you to get to know these women better. And we can talk about how life is real for them, just like it's real for every other person, whether you're a top level athlete or somebody who just is trying to go to the gym and build a bigger booty or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, everybody has their struggles. Every single person does. Life is not perfect for anybody. So I think that is very, very important to allow other women, especially, to understand that we're going through the same struggles. It's normal. It's normal to struggle and it's okay to struggle.
Yeah. Well, and we do, like, we welcome it. I was talking with my mom earlier this week about just like how tough the last 10 years of life have been. I know for me personally, having gone through a divorce and being a single mom, and then, trying to gain more income and grab opportunities as they come. And it's like, I really had to claw my way to get to where I was. And it's not like I'm super comfortable and I have everything that I want, but I earned it all, When you earn it all, you just appreciate it. You wouldn't appreciate, you wouldn't appreciate something that was just given to you,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So, well, I'll let you go so that you can continue on with the rest of your Sunday.
I know. Today I'm like, I got to go run a few errands, meal prep, do all that fun stuff.
It's all good. It's all good. we will get in touch and figure out when we're gonna all meet up next. But
Yes.
yeah, have a good rest of your day. Remember that healthy looks different on everybody.
Bye.